Hi, this is Chris Poor from Assured Information Security, and in this video I will be going through the library tab, the log tab, and these menu items up here. So let's start with the library. So Fissure contains a lot of information about protocols, a lot of attacks, archive files, different categories of attacks, inspection flow graphs. So you'll see this YAML, this main YAML file, is kind of crucial to keeping that all together. In the future, it can probably all be converged into or condensed into a database and just accessed that way. And it might go that way soon, but there's not much information yet, so it's all in a library file. It's useful for me to search this information when I'm doing different types of analysis or loading in different pieces of information. It just keeps everything together. It's kind of hard to just look at it and figure out what's going on here, but I have tools that will help you add things to the library. So if you want to create a new protocol type, you can type it in here. If you want to add a new modulation type, you can add it in. New packet type. A new signal of interest. Statistics doesn't do anything yet. Demodulation flow graphs for protocol discovery. You can load in a file, assign it to hardware and modulation type. Each one can go to the sniffer in different ways. Either the stream, tag, stream, or message PTU. Attacks. This is probably the most useful one for average people. If you have a flow graph or a Python script and it's all ready to go into Fissure, if you have a flow graph, name it the same. Name the ID the same name as the flow graph. So in the title block, make sure they match. Because if you don't and you hit generate, it's going to create a file called .block.py or something like that. And that's not real useful for calling back later on. You can select your modulation type, your protocol, your modulation type. If it's a single stage attack, what kind of category you want it to go under in the attack tree. Is it a flow graph? Is it a flow graph with a GUI? Is it a Python 2 or 3 script? You can load in the file. Let's test out some of these. So if I have a flow graph, let me just load any old. Let's say I have a flow graph that's not already in my library for like X10 or something. The way you want to name it is the protocol name, a dash with a space, the attack name. So if I want to say, I guess on, and it helps to name it protocol, modulation type, US hardware name, attack name. I guess this one's called X10 on. And when you add it to the library, it'll go there and you'll see it in your attack tree here. So it's called X10 on. I think each one for each protocol they have a name and a dash like that. So I guess it was called dash on or just dash, yeah, without the X10. So if I go to Z-Wave, yeah. So this is not needed right here. And if you name it in this convention, it'll show up in the tree. And if you don't name it like that, it won't. Uh, I can do it better in the future, but that's the way it's set up now. It's the same deal with Python scripts. You just select the file and you name it in a similar convention. And you have to make sure that each Python file has a header in it, kind of like I already mentioned in the other video. So if you have something, you got to give this header to know what the default variables are, what the default values are. Then you have the rest of your script. You can remove things in the library. So if I have, an X10 attack, click remove, it'll check delete files, it'll delete the file and remove it from the YAML file. Same deal with all this stuff. And there's some of it has more information than others. But it's a quick way to remove things from the library. I don't want to remove anything. I love everything in my library. Okay. There is a search feature for you to go through and see what's going on. And so if you save SOI data in your library, I'll show you what it looks like. So if you want to know what's around 2400 megahertz plus or minus 50 or something, yeah, let's not kill ourselves. Let's do that search. So a lot of Bluetooth. There's, I guess there's no Wi-Fi. It's at 2412, isn't it? So if you do 2410, now you got more Wi-Fi, more other stuff. So signals of interest right now are getting kind of added manually. Individually for each channel and things like that. If it's an unknown protocol or something, they could also go here. But if they're known to reside, if signal, you have information about the protocol, you know where it resides, what the start frequency is, the bandwidth, and all this stuff, the modulation types, you can assign it to the protocols, and it's helpful to search. You can search by any of these categories, like what's something that uses this FSK. I don't know if I have much. Yeah, I got some. So, that's there. That's there for me to peruse when I'm doing protocol discovery, if I'm searching for things, if I find signals in TSI. You can also search by the bit values for things. So like that X10 remote started with 609F as a preamble, I think. And I search my library, and there you go. It's an X10 message. It matches something that's already in my library. Chances are you're not going to have something like that in your library, but you never know. That's a very specific value. But maybe certain messages start with a certain preamble or something all the time, or they have some kind of sync code. You can search that. There is a gallery that you can upload images. So if you have like a garage door opener, You can also capture signals that you have obtained from those devices. If you want to look at it in higher resolution, you can open it up as a new file. Get the FCC code ID. There's not much to it. To add a new image, you just you name it, you drop it in a folder, in the right folder. There's like a gallery folder under Fissure, and you give it protocol name and whatever you want to call it, and that lets me search for it. So you can write your own notes, look at things you've captured. You can find things online, maybe. Whatever you want to do. This is the thing I've been using for all my videos here. That's kind of the structure of it. It's helpful just to remember how things work and how you did things in the past, and to show other people what it looks like if you're on the go. That is the library tab. That's all it does. There are other files here for the different components. They're all kind of configured with YAML files for passing messages between each other. So you may have like a structure for what a heartbeat message is, or like what's in a heartbeat message, how they're formatted, what's in an SOI message. Yeah, that we'll get into in more detail with documentation and such. Not for this video. The log. This will pretty much show you what's going on in your terminal here. There's been a lot of stuff just printing out there. You can refresh the log. It gets saved to a file every time you open Fissure and close it. It saves all this stuff to a file automatically. Next time you open it, it overwrites that file. If the file gets too big, it starts making extra files, and that I have to address, because I'm not sure if I don't think I delete them properly, like all the extra files, when I load Fissure back up. You can write your own session notes, and it'll save it to a log file or a session file or something, a text file somewhere. You can save the attack history, this log here. You can ignore certain messages. So if you don't want to see all the heartbeats, you don't want to see anything from certain components, let's say you only want to look at protocol discovery, there you go. Or the opposite, you want to see heartbeats and things from TSI and nothing else. There's nothing going on there. Okay, that is the log. It's not great, but like in the future, there will be more information here probably in all these messages, and that can be better. We have gone through all of these tabs to some capacity. Let's check out these menu items up here. There are options that you can adjust for the different tabs. You'll see things like assigning the ports, the default ports that Fissure uses when it boots up. So if you have something else that already uses these, you can change them. You can save the configure. You can remember it. You can save it. You can load it. So if you check remember and you change those options and you close out, next time you come back in, it'll remember everything. So, like, if you always use the same hardware, you can load in all the values, save it. Next time you come back, it'll all be there for you. Standalone. These are standalone flow graphs that you can open up for different protocols and things. So, like, if you want to look at RDS, there you go. The flow graphs right there. These are mostly third-party flow graphs that, or things that I've tweaked, or things that I've made. Um, what's nice about these is that you can change the values inside them, and it doesn't affect the rest of what's going on in Fissure here. So it won't impact the attacks. It won't impact your other flow graphs for the other tabs. And if you make changes the next time you open it, the changes will be there. Or if you want to swap out blocks for different types of hardware or something like that, you can do that. Like if you have different source blocks, I think this might have one. Yeah, so like if you have a RTL device or a HackerF instead of a USRP, you can just have all these blocks here and just enable or disable them. And there's also generic things for like a noise source or frequency translating filter. Tools. This is a lot. So these are all mostly third-party tools that are part of the Fissure installation. This is what takes it so long to install. So you'll see, there's a lot of Wi-Fi tools. I won't go through all of them. I won't go through any of them really. But they're just like if you ran them in a terminal. They'll either launch the program or they'll give you an example command of how to use something, like a multi-mon NG. So if you have a signal in GQRX or something, you want to pipe it to here, chances are you're not going to remember any of this. So it's helpful to have just a command you can see an example of. But there are also online tools, like if you want to look at marine traffic or something. There you go. Sure. Or maybe you want to look at planes. There's a lot of trackers for that. You get FlightAware. I like looking at maps. So maybe you want to look at satellites. Or weather balloons. There are a lot of maps out there. There's a whole world of radio songs, if you're not aware. Okay. What else we got? I use it a lot for. I use all this stuff, but you can also look up, trunked radio databases. RadioReference.com. Interesting. Okay. You can figure out what's going on in your local area, like what frequencies are assigned to things. So a lot of online references maybe there's some calculators in here. There might be things like Cyber Chef. You can write stuff. I won't go through anything in particular. Cell phones, Excel mappers, and all that. Google Earth Pro. Normally, when I do a demo, I'm usually showing off Wi-Fi tools like Wi-Fi or Airgeddon's a good one. I might go through RFID. There's this Easy Pass capture agent, which will read the tag from your Easy Pass, which is kind of cool. There's not many RFID stuff. There's not much RFID for SDRs. Generic SDR spectrum analyzers and things. You got GQRX, Spectrum, all these guys. Hydra, SDR trunk, OpenHab, ham radio. There's a lot of ham radio information. Like if you're taking the exam, there's the pools, there's Anki for doing flashcards. Yeah, there's a whole lot that I'm not including. So each operating system might have more tools than others. Certain ones don't support certain versions of things like PyQt or GCC or whatever, and I don't want to mess with the installer too much. It's hard for me to get everything to work on 1804 or everything to work on 2204. They just don't work sometimes unless you really mess with your system. So that's why there's 3 branches to separate all those programs. So if you ever want to use a certain tool, you can. You just gotta make a bootable USB or a VM or something. Or change your computer, load a new computer up. This tab are lessons, a series of lessons. I'm hoping to expand them for different topics, but some of them are more expansive than others. They're helpful if you forget how to do something. Like if I don't remember how OpenBTS works, I can just go back here, see the installation, see how to run it, which is most important to me. I can configure it. I can add a new phone to the registry. So these things I would never remember, and I'd have to look it up every time, and it wastes so much time to do that. And it's very helpful to have them all here in one spot. Same thing with like RFID. If I want to learn how that protocol works, there's a lot of information here about it. Like what all the different fields are and stuff like that. If I want to know how to use the Proxmark III to reprogram an entry card, there it is. That does work. There's that DPass thing I was talking about. If I want to look at data types, what do all these data types mean? That kind of helps. So the idea behind the lessons is to provide information and use Fissure to help visualize it. A lot of them have examples of how to do things in Fissure. Like there are different Wi-Fi tools for all these topics. Like if you want to do password cracking, how to use Airgeddon and Wi-Fi 2, and eventually I'll have things built into Fissure, like if you want to do something with Z-Wave or TPMS, I guess. I'll have attacks you can run in Fissure and examples of how to use those attacks. So you can do whole classroom lessons from Fissure. You can do like a class about how to analyze the signal or detect a signal or what it looks like, what's real and imaginary data, that kind of thing. So that's where these custom lessons that I want to integrate into Fissure that, have steps of this is what you do. But I'm also interested in other people's lessons. I know there are a lot of good resources out there. Here are a couple. And more information, the better. That's what I say. So if you have something, if you've already made it, send me a link or something and I can put it in here. If you want to help me write individual lessons and integrate them into Fissure, integrate them with Fissure, I can do that too if you talk to me about it. Here are some help items. There's a limited amount of tab information. Like there's not much here. It kind of just gives you like the basics of the premise of what each tab does. I mean, the videos are probably more helpful than what's there. In the future, I'll be releasing more help information, more user manual stuff, and more ICD, just how to more API type stuff for Fissure, how to write your own code. There is some information about how to modify the dashboard, how to create things in PyQt. I can show you that right now. So there are examples of different things you can do for a table widget or something in Python. So if you ever want to modify the dashboard, you just type designer. You can open up this dashboard UI file, which is found under the UI folder in Fissure. And there's the dashboard, and you can select the different tabs. And if you want to change what a button is, there's the ID. If you want to add, copy, and paste a new button, you can do that too. Let's not save that, but everything in there is an example of how to do something. So if you see something you want to recreate, just look at how I did it, and you can copy and paste and search the code, do a Control F, and copy that ID for that button, and you'll see how to connect the slots to functions, and you'll see examples of how to get values from like edit boxes and stuff, and it's also here in this file. Most of everything in that dashboard is contained in the dashboard.py file. So if you want to add new functionality, add it to that file. That's your best bet. Yeah, right. Uploading flow graphs and Python scripts. I kind of already went through that a little bit. There's just protocol. There's a protocol reference material. I have spreadsheets of just a list of protocols. Things by frequencies, charts, FCC ID, lookups, wavelength, list of SDRs, just notes. If you want to see all the software that's in Fissure, you can go to software and conflicts or about and see a nice little check mark and what's installed, what versions installed for every operating system. That can also be found from the README, which is on GitHub. There's a Discord link here, and if you click it, it will ask you to join the Discord. And if you ever have any questions about Fissure, that's a good place to go. I'll see that. You can just talk in a casual environment. You can message me directly if you don't want to ask your question in front of everyone else. I'll have different channels for different topics in the future. But speaking of, contacting me, if you go, sorry, if you go to the GitHub page and you want to talk about something, there's the discussions tab. Just create a new topic. If you want to tell me a piece of software you want me to install, here's an example of how to do it. If you have anything you want to talk about, and just create a new post. If you have an issue or a bug that you see, bring it up here and I'll see it, and I can address it. If you want to fork the code and make a pull request, that's excellent. I'd appreciate that, because then I can see all the things that you changed, all the files, I can just accept them, or I can go in and tweak them myself and give you credit for that. Yeah, that's the end of the videos. Be sure to follow this README as I change it. Check out the AIS page. And yeah, this will change. So thank you for staying through all these videos, and if you have any questions, please email me, talk to me on Discord, follow me on Twitter, talk to business development at AIS, and send me your comments. Thank you.